My connection to the mental health community is a person with mental health conditions. I have 4 different mental health condition diagnoses. I have bipolar disorder, PTSD, general anxiety disorder, and obsessive compulsive disorder.
My connection with the mental health community is being both a patient and also an advocate, and also a person who's conducted support groups for other people that are dealing with mental health and their families.
In 7th grade, I started going to therapy and was diagnosed with OCD, general anxiety, and panic disorder because I was having a lot of trouble kind of just, coping with different stressors in my life and stuff. And so that's kind of when I started learning about mental health, obviously with my own diagnosis.
So I'm connected with the mental health community as a founder and director of an art program called Your Art, Your Story. And we do art programs for suicide, loss survivors, and attempt survivors.
My connection is that I have anxiety disorder and major depression.
As someone who struggles with mental illness, I would want the world to know that we need to talk more about mental health, and the discussion around it needs to be more genuine and authentic, because I think there's a lot of stigma and a lot of connotations around what mental health is and different mental illnesses that kind of hurts the community and hurts that conversation. And I think that it's important that we, had more genuine conversations and, truth and more experiences and that kind of storytelling into those conversations.
There's many ways to help besides just taking medicine.
For a long time, I felt as if my mental illness was this burden and it made me defective, and I was very embarrassed to kind of share that. And I kind of want, my art to be a story for someone else, to not feel as alone. And I think that that has helped me to really embrace, these parts of me, because I know that I am going to hopefully help someone else to accept themselves as well.
What I want the world to know about someone who struggles with mental illness is that people who are mentally ill can still function. I think there's this belief that if you have a mental illness, you can't function at a very high level. And I believe the opposite is true. I believe with therapy, treatment, awareness, you can function at a very high level intellectually.
If I had, cancer, we wouldn't reject me. We would embrace and say, how can I help? It's the same thing when I'm in a place where I'm needing support. I'm really just needing someone to be present while I figure out how to heal.
Another concept that I run into is a lot of people that are high functioning, that function well in the world, have mental illnesses, and they're not getting treatment because people look at them and think they function well, therefore they can't be mentally ill. And that stops people from getting treatment.
I would like the world to know that we are not our diagnosis, that we can be anything we want to be.
My work has been lately about my experiences of the world and dealing with bipolar and talking about that, because for me it's all about expression, ideas, and communication.
I was involved in a car accident in 2005, and I had some serious injuries, and during that time I just started doing crafting and painting. And this piece here, it has rice paper and house paint, and I really like it because it just has kind of a blue jeans feel to it and relaxed mood. And I made that with my son, who was an artist and a musician.
Okay, let me see if I can talk about this one. It's called Horse. It's also called Pferd. I gave it a German title too. And it was really about me dealing with bipolar disorder. The pole over here represents depression, which was blue, and the yellow represented mania. And I feel like I'm a horse constantly running between these 2 poles. I'm never at any calm place at any point. I feel like I'm in a derby, constantly going back and forth.
My art, there's a lot of different things that I do. I started off at the age of 5, starting to take dance classes.
This is what I stay busy with year-round. I make these. They're made from recycled flip-flops from Mali, Africa.
This painting is really about the here and now. This is about really dealing with COVID. I felt like COVID was a huge vulture, ready to just prey on you.
When I was about 10, I joined the Black Theater troupe here in Phoenix, Arizona. Played the cello. I'm a writer too.
This was a really interesting piece. I wanted to work small. I've been working kind of large, and I wanted to work small and see if I could practice some of my brush strokes. And out of it came this kind of abstract bird.
I also like to work in ceramics, and I make bells and wind chimes.
This painting, which I have yet to really formally title, it's also about dealing with mania and how that can be both a magnificent experience and also a very frightening one too, because mania has been a source of so much of my work that this really kind of wild landscape that goes from sky to like an aerial view, like you're in a jet.
I make these, they're made from recycled flip-flops from Mali, Africa. All of these tubes here. And these here are my aunt's design.
I started storytelling, honestly, for as long as I can remember. I've always wrote, and then whenever I used to draw, I used to kind of narrate like what was happening. And I think that for me, it kind of gave me like this sense of control over my life, especially when like everything kind of felt chaotic around me.
My art history started as a teenager, and Sister Leonard Marie is the one that made me feel like I had some talent.
One of the things that's different now is that I'm looking at writing as a vehicle for healing. And so it's always been a part of me, but it really has been a way to deal with trauma. But it's always a release. So I wrote a play, but I've been part of the art world since I can remember.
When did I start making art? I've been making art as long as I can remember. I just kind of see art all around me.
This book that I think totally made me who I am today, it was in like a little dome and it just kind of glowed, and I walked over to it and it said, How to Be a Nonconformist. And I was like, that's real. And I didn't know what satire was.
I started creating art before I could literally talk and walk. I remember my grandmother had a whole pile of papers with these scribble marks, and they were all mine as when I was an infant.
I started painting officially 2 years ago, but prior to that, when I was younger with my mom, and it was a way to reconnect with her.
I started making these bracelets a good 15 years ago. My aunt was a jeweler still at the time, and she gave me opportunity to learn and work for her.
But honestly, I think that I really started to kind of hone in on my art around middle school. That's when I really started to kind of, create like a style and my own personal voice.
We could get more art into schools and in the community. For instance, raise the prevalence of mental illness and how art, whether it's music or visual art or dance, helps all individuals express themselves.
I think we can get more art programs in the community and the schools by integrating art with existing programs. It's really simple. It is not that expensive. It just is going to require some creativity and forward thinking.
How to do it? I think NAMI is doing a great job of it just by being presence, a big presence in our country.
My art has been beneficial because it's everything to me. It's broken down walls, broken down barriers. It's just made everything better for me.
It allows a person to get in touch with themselves. The whole process of making art, thinking about art, talking about art.
My art has been really beneficial for my mental health because it made everything real. Because so much of mental health is very ephemeral and not concrete, like a broken leg or cancer. So by having the paintings, they're like documents of what I went through. There's so many things that aren't being said, but yet visually they can express them perhaps more than words and perhaps in a different way than the written word. It gives me a voice to speak about what happened. It helps me understand what happened, process what happened, and hopefully provide a voice for other people.
I probably would not be here if I did not have an outlet with art. Writing Demons was one of the hardest, that's the name of the play that I wrote. It's one of the hardest things I've ever did.
It's an outlet, it's relaxing, it gives me something to do.
How I've seen art be beneficial to mental health is through empowering people who may feel that they've lost control or they don't know their place or they're not sure what to do. It's very empowering to create something of your own, from your own thoughts, your own heart. That when you create art, that your stress hormones, your cortisol decreases. And it doesn't matter whether you're an artist, trained or not. It's just making stuff with your hands is a great way to reduce stress.
Creating art makes me feel calm. It gives me a place to go to express, to put out ideas, and to really be focused, to really concentrate on what's happening, not just to live it, but to really think about what's happening.
It's always a cathartic kind of sense of like, I have something to say, I have to get it out, and once I get it out, there's a pause. And I try to lean into the pause now and see what's underneath that instead of just like, okay, I got it out and I don't know. I'm starting to get curious now about what I'm writing.
It makes me feel relaxed. It helps me to be in the present moment, to find a point of stillness.
It's like I'm experiencing the world on this really intense level, and it's really calming. I find it really very a comfortable place to be.
It makes me feel amazing when I create art. I lower my walls.
Happy, peaceful.
So when I'm creating, I just let whatever comes up, comes up.
When I create art, it's like every emotion into one. There are days, obviously, when art feels like a challenge and a struggle. I think those days are very proactive because I can learn to cope with those different emotions. At the end of the day, every time I finish something, I just feel elated.